the TaylorMade Qi10 is here. I'm going to give you a guide and a rough run through the different heads. I'll give you some idea about the tech and how we're applying it here. I think that this is going to be one of those drivers that's going to take a little bit of time to see what this design is going to do for golfers. So this is part one of my review of this. I'm going to do a part two once I get some bums on seats in here, and let's see how this technology has been applying to different fittings and different flight scenarios, and it might give you a better understanding. So subscribe to the channel and then you'll see part two coming up soon once we get some people into the bed. Let me give you the broad overview. So Qi10, what's the naming franchise about? Well, first of all, it's the quest for inertia. Okay, so there's a term in golf called moment of inertia, which is a cubic centimeter squared. It's a mathematical term. But what it basically means is the ability for the driver to resist twisting. So it's how stable is the driver basically on its design. So what TaylorMade have done is they've stretched this body, they've stretched the design right to the very back, they've lightened everything. We still have a carbon face, we still have twist face for off center strikes, but we have this carbon chassis now top and bottom, which then pushes my biggest part of the weight, the heaviest part of the club to the very back. Okay, so they've stretched the actual chassis, moved the weight to the back, and this is creating this high moment of inertia. They have it up to 10,000, they say, which is the very limit of moment of inertia in drivers, and they are one of the first to do this. They're not the only, but they're one of the first. I'm not sure how this is going to apply to a lot of golfers, so that's where I want to see how this actually works when we get into the fitting side of things. But basically, this is a forgiving driver. It comes in a couple of different lofts. There's a 9, there's a 10.5, and a 12. And the loft sleeve on this is going to be kind of important because with just 3 lofts, the adjustment in the actual sleeve can change it from a upright or more draw scenario into a more draw, more closed and more open. So when you change the loft on this, as you go down in loft, you open the face, and as you go up in loft, you close the face. So higher is more shut and lower is more open. You got to be careful with the sleeve. I think that this is probably going to be a fitted product really, because golfers are going to be confused about what loft to go for, because with the weight at the very back of this chassis, it's going to create launch parameters and certainly probably spin situations as well. So you're going to have to be careful about what loft you get and then how you adjust the sleeve to suit that window of flight. So be careful, make sure you go maybe up in loft and then change the setting based on your left or right miss. But it is going to be a fitted product, even though there's not much sliding weight. The loft and the way that the hosel is set is really important. So when you move the weight to the very back of the chassis of the driver and all the balance is to the back of the club, it changes the parameters of flight and launches the ball really high. It's really important that you hit up on drivers when you come to this technology. Actually, let me show you on TrackMan, it's probably easier. So when it comes to drivers, the important thing here is the tack angle. You can see here, this is a positive number. It's really important when weight's at the back of the club that you're launching the ball into the air, because this is even from a 10.5 degree head, and you can see it's still only 3,100 RPM. It doesn't really matter about speed when it comes to spin. All of these drivers will spin it low, irrespective almost of the loft. So it's important that you hit up on the club, that the launch angle is high, and this is where picking the right loft is almost critical. You get the loft wrong on this club and it's not going to matter where you hit it on the face, you're not going to get the distance and the carry. So height is your friend when it comes to this product. Get the tack angle positive, get the ball launching and get the ball in the air higher, because you need that height to get your carry up. Shaft wise in this, it's coming in Diamana. I think there's another 50 gram shaft as well, which is slightly lighter, obviously with more regular flex. I'll put a list of those as well down in the comments below. You'll be able to see where, or in the notes, where the different shafts are for this Qi10 Max. They're being quite specific with the shaft. Now, the other heads. So they have the Qi10, which is their, I guess, normal driver. This spins a little differently. So the Max spins a little bit more than I was expecting. It does spin high and launch high. So the Qi10 is more for that golfer that wants to control the spin a bit better, who suffers maybe a little bit too much spin. This spun flatter for me, it launched a bit lower as well, and it was probably more of a rounded club. I matched it with a KBS TD 50 gram and it rocketed out there. Is the driver faster? I don't know whether it's quicker or it's further than before, but I guess this is based on if you have a driver that's an older iteration, so maybe it's 4 models old, maybe you're just pre-COVID, this is a driver to come and check out, because it does have this more forgiveness. So if you're going to miss, it won't miss as far. And then if you match it with the right shaft and get that hosel setting right, it's definitely going to be much straighter than before. So it's a forgiving, low spinning, high flighted product. That's what you're looking at. The LS driver then is designed for that stronger golf, smaller footprint. It's got a lower MOI. It hasn't got the same 10,000 MOI as the Max driver. It has a smaller footprint, therefore it doesn't have the same, I guess, forgiveness capabilities, but it's better. It's based for the better player. Lower launching, lower spinning. There's also a weight that sits up front that you can slide in and back, so it's more draw, more fade. That weight is quite far forward, so it does produce a very low spin. Loft on that is very important to get that right. You get loft wrong, the driver's going to drop out of the air very quickly. Shaft in that's going to be slightly heavier, slightly stiffer. We're looking at sort of stronger tip shaft for that. Stop the driver from rolling in. It is definitely for the better player, but it hits very similarly. The feel and acoustics from this, very similar throughout the range, even though that bigger footprint in the Max. It doesn't sound big or tinny, it sounds strong, and the acoustics are much lower than I expected. Bottom line here is, this driver is definitely edging towards more of a forgiving story. It's probably designed for the golfer that's struggling with that miss, but that's where fitting comes in. The right shaft, the right length of shaft, the right, I suppose, positioning of the hosel, and the way that the club head is moving through impact will definitely have a big change in those misses and managing those misses. Hope you enjoyed that. Subscribe for part 2 of this. When I get a few more bones on the seat, I'm going to go back to you with some information on what I see from the fittings, on which of the heads is actually working for the right scenarios. And until then, I'll see you. Thanks for watching.